believe there is more? If you don't believe there's more, then you got a boring God.
One resolute, praying, believing man or woman today can bring a spiritual awakening to an entire community. Something deep inside of me was calling out to the deep of God. And I said, Lord, there's gotta be more.
Hey, want to welcome everybody to the There's More podcast. We have a special guest with us today, all the way from, I guess you're in Atlanta, Georgia now, right? We have Tedashii with us. So we want to say thank you for joining this show and being here with us. And tell us what's been going on the past year, really. I mean, it's been crazy, right?
Like, that question is so different now.
Yes.
Hey, what's been going on? Home. Just being home. Like, it's way different nowadays. Man, this is actually my first event back in a year.
Wow.
Past COVID. Like, literally, I had an event a few days before they declared a national emergency, and I've been home ever since. So this is kind of the post-COVID inaugural step back into doing music performances. So I'm excited. That has been something we've been looking forward to.
Yeah.
But beyond that, man, it's been a very bittersweet time. Probably a little more sweet than bitter. I love travel. I love doing what I do, but I've been able to be home and consistently be a husband, a father.
That's good.
Consistently be a person who was visible to my family, which is a rarity for what we do, being on the road so much. So I've loved that part of it.
Good.
Phenomenal.
Good. I was actually talking to my wife yesterday, and I told her, I was like, this is March of 2021. I was like, it was about a year ago. I remember coming home from church on Wednesday night, and I turned the TV on. I was watching one of the NBA games, and they just stopped it right in the middle of the game. They're like, hey, one of the players tested positive for COVID. And I was like, holy cow. And it was like, after that, it was when it really just started going downhill. But, just like you said, man, yes. I mean, I feel like 2020 was kind of the year for us to, hey, let's slow down and reflect on some stuff and figure out, what's God trying to tell us, as Christians, period. But yeah, I mean, I think it was, there's always a time for not necessarily relaxing, but just getting into what God's wanting us to do. So, Caleb, you got anything?
No, man, I'm just, I told everybody right before, because a year ago, is when we had this event, and then everything kind of shut down after that. And I remember looking at our student team and telling them, hey, guys, I'll be honest with you, I'm going to be a terrible student pastor for the next 3 months. I said, but hey, I'm going to try to be a godly dad, and I'm going to try to be a godly husband, and I'm going to be a godly neighbor. I'm going to try to do that for the next 3 months. And I was a terrible student pastor for about 3 months.
About 3 months, bro.
But man, I tell you what, my wife really enjoyed it, my kids, and man, I got to meet Jaden down there, and I'm telling you, man, so having dad home.
My oldest son, I brought him with me. He's on cloud 9, and then this is back, and Jaden he's a people person, so he is loving this moment. He's like, freedom, I'm outside the house, and there are people.
He got out of the car just a little bit ago and said, I've been in the car for 2 hours, I'm ready to go.
Yes, that was him.
That's awesome.
So he doesn't meet a stranger.
That's right. We were talking a little bit before the podcast, kind of explain to you, the There's More name and kind of the concept behind that, and there's always a point in someone's life where they realize, there's got to be more than life than what we're doing. Whether if you're not a Christian, you realize, man, there's got to be more. There's, I need to be serving, I need to be doing this, or even if you are a Christian, maybe you're living a mundane Christian life, and you realize, man, there's got to be more than this Christian life than me just showing up to church every now and then, and maybe opening the Word every now and then. But the main concept is salvation. We know that, hey, at one point that there is more is Jesus. You're good.
You're good, I totally thought it was off.
It's all good.
Until that moment.
It's all good. But I'm sure there's a moment in your life where you hit that, man, there's got to be more than what I'm doing. And, I guess your salvation story. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, totally. That's a great point too. I love the title because I definitely know that was me at one point. Yeah. So I'll speak to kind of my testimony and kind of segue into what you were referencing as far as the title of the show. Yeah. So I grew up in a home where I had a mom and a stepdad, and for a time they were together and then they weren't. And I grew up in a time where it was It was really clear cut. Like, you're a kid, you stay in a kid's place. You are silent unless called on. You don't speak unless spoken to. If you're not doing homework, you're doing chores, or you're outside of the house playing, doing something other than bothering me. So when my stepdad was out of the house, it was clear that kind of changed, and it was okay, now you got responsibilities, I need you to step it up. And so people around me in my community would go, man, you're a good kid, man. You, the pastor, the principal at my school, even my mom, she would say, like, everybody, oh, you're a good kid, thank you for being a good kid. And looking back on it, I feel like I was just really good at hiding all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
But they're saying you're a good kid, and if you're a good kid, you get rewarded with compliments and treats and candy and sometimes money. And so looking like a good kid was incentivized, and therefore was something I desired. And so moving forward, I graduate high school, I get to college, and things for me are working out. So I start to believe my own hype. I'm a good kid. I'm a good person. I'm good at certain things. People are seeing that. They're celebrating it. They're rewarding it. And then God did something that I never expected in a million years. He took football out of my life. And going into my sophomore year of college, I got hurt working out in the weight room, and God took everything away. And right around that same time, my girlfriend of 2 years broke up with me. Right around that same time, my mom and stepdad were finally getting a divorce, and that was a lot on me. And then because there's no football, there's no scholarship, no money, no college. Yeah. So the lady in the financial aid office, in this almost annoyed tone, probably because she had a bad day, but she doesn't know my life, but we clashed. She's like, you got to go. You don't have any money. You got to get out of here. So I'm just like, okay, I'm out of school, about to get kicked out of the dorm, so on. And in the place of being broken, God sent someone my way who cold called evangelism, just walked up, another freshman on campus, started sharing the gospel.
Wow.
And I was like, yo, this is interesting. And I'd seen him before, so we're talking. And he starts to say stuff that feels offensive. And of course, we know the gospel can be offensive, but he's saying stuff, and I'm just like, yo, this is not what I want to hear right now. And I got upset, and I was like, man, you don't know me. Don't judge my life. And I literally, I politely moved him out of the way until he was on the ground. And then I went to class. I went to class, upset, bothered, agitated, with him, with life, with everything. And he came back a couple weeks later, and he shared the gospel with me again. And that at that time, life had gotten to rock bottom, if you will, and I heard him. I was in a place looking for more. I was like, there's got to be more than just what I thought life was going to be about, because I thought life was going to be about football and fame and financial success, and it was going to be about like all of the fun that I could have in life. Yeah. And all that was taken away, and what was left was this emptiness of me sitting in an apartment I can't afford, with no electricity, no running water, about to be evicted, and thinking, what am I doing with my life right now? And he comes and shares the gospel. And I tell people God had already broken me physically, and at this moment he had broken me fully. And the Spirit of the Lord moved, and I liken it to the idea of being hugged on the inside. It felt like a warm embrace, and for the first time in my life I felt peace upon hearing the idea that I needed a Savior, and the only one was Jesus. Yeah. And I thought to myself, I've been doing everything the way I thought. Maybe I haven't had it right. Yeah. Maybe I need another person to show up and do what I couldn't do. And so if there's going to be more to this, then maybe he can bring it. And so I dropped to my knees on campus, literally right there, and I just started praying with him. And then from that moment, he became one of my best friends in life, discipled me for a while. I mean, he was the best man at my wedding. He's Uncle Keenan to Jaden and everybody else at the house. And man, he's the person who led me into following the Lord. And even the voice, probably the first voice in my life to tell me, hey, all those raps you keep making up, why don't you rap about Jesus? And as powerful as that was, looking back on it, in the moment, I was like, that is the corniest, lamest idea on earth. You don't get a girlfriend rapping about Jesus. I'm trying to get somebody who just pledged AKA, because I'm not trying to. She's not going to want to talk to me. I'm over here talking about Jesus, but he had a plan beyond what I could recognize, even at a young age, being mature and wise beyond his years. And he led me into a level of distinction, which then brought about this lifestyle where people started to say, what is it about you? Something's different about you. And I could tell them what the more was.
Yeah.
And speaking to the title, man, I'm reminded of 1 Thessalonians where Paul is speaking to the church in Thessalonica, and he's encouraging them, saying, man, your love for one another goes beyond the borders of your own hometown. You are loving one another so well. You are serving in such a strong way. People in other counties, other cities, other countries are taking note of it. Amazing. Way to go. And then he tells them, let love abound even more. Like, we know you're doing great, and we would think, well, if I'm doing great, where else do I go? I mean, I'm doing great. And we would also think, man, if I'm doing that good, I've kind of maxed out on what this could be. But Paul had a different perspective from a Holy Spirit vantage point that was like, nah, there's more.
Yeah.
Do more. You can do more. And so I think about what else is there? What more is there for us? I think about a guy who was on my football team. We weren't friends. Didn't really know him that well. We were from the same area in Texas, but he was kind of a hothead, not somebody who I would ever be friends with, just because I tell everybody, man, I mean, you guys look like, for all intents and purposes, manly men, like.
Manly men.
Yeah. We can end the podcast now. We're good.
We'll end it right there. We're good. But like, you look like you could defend yourself, handle yourself. You wouldn't shy away from a scuffle if need be. Like, it's not like you're looking for trouble, but you would protect your family. You'd protect yourself in some way. I tell everybody, man, I feel like there are people, men and women on the earth who are like that. If I got to, I guess I could do something to protect myself. Then there are those who are stone cold killers. I'm not that. Like, I'll defend myself, but I'm not out here looking for trouble in hopes of ruining somebody's life or taking it. There are no thugs in college. You can't be a thug and care about your GPA. It's not a real thing.
That's true.
You're just not. You're not. True. I don't believe you. You say you a thug, but you mad that you didn't get a 3.5 for the semester. I'm like, no, you're not a thug, bro. This man that knocked on my door was a thug, bro. Like, didn't care about GPA, was only in school because it was like, yo, this is what they said I had to do to get to the check in the NFL, yada, yada, yada. And he knocked on my door, and I'm like, yo, what's up, bro? How can I help you? Not knowing what I'm in for. And he said, I need to talk to you. And he came through the door, didn't even wait for me to say anything.
Wow.
I got to talk to you. Came in the door, closed the door, sat down, and he's shaking his leg. He's like stressing, rubbing his head. And I said, bro, talk to me. What's going on? He said, man, I'm in trouble. He said, I guarantee I was with the wrong people at the wrong time. I'm about to face a drug charge, and my girl pregnant. She just told me today she pregnant. I called my mom and told her, and my mom was so upset she hung up. My dad was like, you're an idiot. You ruined your life. Don't talk to me. Everyone I thought that loved me is leaving me.
Yeah.
What else is there for me to do? I don't know what to do. I was like, well, why you come to me? And he was like, you are on campus. You're rapping about Jesus. You're talking about Jesus. Anybody who's going to stand up and rap in front of people about what you believe, I think you mean it. I need somebody real in this moment to talk to. And it was the first moment that I saw this level of distinction bringing about a hunger, or at least creating a place of safety for somebody who had a hunger.
Yeah.
To know that there was something more than what they had for themselves.
That's good.
And so I have seen God do amazing things through the faithfulness of a few in impacting the many.
Yeah.
And we believe it's the opposite. I got to get a ton of people. And when I get the masses on my side, then those hard-hearted few will have to crumble. And it's like, no, God will, just like Gideon, God needs a faithful few.
Yeah.
And the rest, he will take care of.
I mean, that's an incredible story, because if you look at the guy who's the best man at your wedding that shared the gospel to you, what if he never would have shared the gospel?
Yeah.
I mean, you probably would have eventually heard it somewhere else, but still, I mean, the fact that he was willing to share the gospel to you, and all the, hundreds of thousands, probably millions of people, that your music has gone to, man, and the people that you've touched. That's one way to look at it. That's incredible. And that's the kind of faith we need to be living with too. And the boldness is to go share our faith, because what if you touch somebody's life that goes out and touches millions,
And I'm sure too, it probably wasn't easy physically him walking up there and being like, "Hey, I'm going to talk to this guy right here. Hope he don't squash me."
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly
And,
it.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
Just
exactly it.
You know, the boldness of what, man, to be unashamed
Yeah.
of the gospel,
Yeah.
man, it means something different when you are unashamed. You know, it just it's like it's like you become a soldier all of a sudden.
Yeah, bro.
You know?
He was bold enough to share the first time, and after being pushed down and talked crazy to, he was bold enough to come back again.
That's crazy.
Here are why events like this are exciting for me. No matter where I go, if I'm in Birmingham, or, to be respectful, what's the city we're in?
Gardendale.
Gardendale. If I'm in Gardendale, or if I'm in South Africa, like wherever I am, my man was on campus sharing the gospel because his youth pastor was like, "All right, you're in college now. You got to be bold. No better way to be bold than to make it known now what you believe, who you are, so you don't compromise it later, and so people around you don't ever get confused that they would think that you would ever want to be involved in something that would take you down a wrong path." And so he was bold in the moment because he had strong leadership in his life, loving him, telling him, "This is what you got to go do." And so when I met him later, the dude that led him to the Lord, it was just an interesting conversation. And he was like, "Man, you guys do the work, so there are those that you're like, yo, he is on it. I just gotta like fan the embers." And God is going to light this flame in this kid. He's already there. And that's how Keenan was. And so he just stayed on him. Even going into college, he stayed on him. And so I'm grateful for this type of stuff that happens because I know the fruit. I'm a result of the fruit that can come from moments like tonight.
That's good. Let's talk a little bit about musical influence. And you talk about the boldness that it took for you to even, to be rapping about Jesus, especially in that time period, because the time you're talking about, I mean, I'm probably guessing in the 90s at some point. And so back then, I mean, you had like, as far as like, Christian radio type, and you had like DC Talk. I don't remember any Christian rappers back in the 90s. I just don't, except for, DC Talk in a way, but they weren't really like rapping. But like, who's some of your musical influences that brought you to where you are now?
Yeah.
And they don't have to be Christian. I mean,
No, I appreciate it. Yeah. Man, Herbie Hancock, Johnny Cash. What's the woman that sang "Over the Rainbow"? From the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, it's Dorothy. Not Dorothy.
No.
It's what's her name?
What's her real name? Dorothy? That's her real name, guys?
No,
her name
what's
in
her
the
name?
movie was her real name.
It starts with a G. Garland. Something
we don't
Garland.
have to, Judy Garland.
Judy Garland. That's
I'm
it.
just kidding. You don't have to find it. I'm just making those up, bro. My man was
Herbie
like
Hancock.
Dorothy and Herbie Hancock. Those are it for me. No. I'm just kidding, man. So I grew up in a very interesting home. My mom grew up singing in blues clubs. So I had a ton of blues in my life, and then I had a ton of R&B and soul,
which is awesome.
And so anything blues music, anything soul, anything I was a fan of as a kid and influenced by. Anything kind of soul meets pop as well.
Yeah.
But my stepdad for a time was a huge blues fan and country music fan.
Yeah.
So you like Buddy Guy?
I love Buddy Guy. Buddy Guy's great.
Yeah.
You like Buddy Guy?
So my father-in-law is the head of the Blues Commission in Mississippi.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh, he knows everybody.
We're gonna have to talk later.
Yeah, you need to talk. He's got
big thing they
hookups.
had
He got
in New Orleans,
connections.
I think last year before the COVID, where they brought down a whole bunch of blues guys. He was the one putting all that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yo, my mom almost went to that too. Yeah. She just didn't want to drive back. Because a lot of my family came from Louisiana and moved to Texas before she was born. But man, she almost went back. Like I heard about that concert and I was like, I'm not driving from Georgia. I just can't do it. I'm not gonna do it. Bro, I grew up listening to mainly blues, country, Zydeco, and R&B pop. Like that was pretty much it. Then eventually gospel came into the mix. Then eventually jazz, because I played in the band and I played big band and I learned about more jazz artists. And then I went through the 9 Inch Nails phase. And then
see, it's exact. There's another buddy of mine who's like the exact opposite of me too. He's like, you would think someone like me grew up listening to like country music, and he actually grew up listening to country, and I was like, well, I grew up listening to 90s hip hop and rap just because that's what my brother listened to on the way to school when he would drop me off at school every morning, and that's what I loved and enjoyed, and it's just funny how I put this. I'm thinking this guy. He's probably like, hey, Tupac, Dr. Dre, Snoop, like some of this, and he's like country, some country music, some blues and some R&B and
hip
stuff
hop
like that.
in my house for my mom was demonic. It was evil,
Yeah.
and she wasn't like a Christian woman per se. We were in Texas, so it was like anywhere else in the South. Christianity is what you do, not necessarily a faith, but
Right.
it's just a part of my life, man.
Yeah.
It's what I do. So she knew, like, I just can't have my son listening to, 2 Live Crew.
Well, my parents didn't know I was listening to it. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Well, no, my mom was definitely gonna find out. I was a horrible liar. I still am. I'm not good at lying at all, bro. I'd rather just not know. I'm like, don't tell me
That's
nothing
right.
because I can't lie for you. It won't work.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I think, man, what really won me over was one of my cousins who was older. We went to Houston, and I'm trying to be like them. And we went to a nightclub in Houston, and he snuck me in. I was like 16 at the time.
Yeah.
And he snuck me in, and I watched him and like 6 other guys rap. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. That's amazing. And I always thought it was cool, but I wanted to do it. So when I got back to school the next week, I told some guys in the lunchroom, I was like, I can rap. I know how to do it. And they was like, you can't rap. And I was like, no, I can, for real. And I literally just did what my cousin did. And they were like, oh my God, that's amazing. But what really did it was once I got their praise, there was a young lady who lingered afterward and was like, that was pretty impressive. And I heard, you're very impressive.
Yeah.
So through my own adolescent, through my own adolescent arrogance, I was like, I should keep rapping. This will be great. And so, like God does, in the only way He can, He finds a way to redeem everything for His glory.
That's
and
right.
so, once my man said, you should rap for the Lord, I was like, nah, I'm good on that. And I laughed. And he kept talking until he convinced me to write a song. And he can sing. So I wrote the song, and then he sang the chorus. And then a friend of mine who I happen to be on the track team with, he could play keys and bass. So we made a little beat up right there, and then had a whole little band. And I performed in this talent show, and it was my first time to do a Christian rap, and it was trash. Oh, it was trash. It was so bad. And I don't say that now, looking back, like, well, I'm just better now, so whatever. No, it was horrible.
Right.
I think out of 7 people on the talent show, we got 6th. Because
you got to start somewhere.
The other person started and quit. That's the only reason. That's the only reason we beat them. And I was just like, yo, this is horrible. And everybody who was there that we knew, like one of my friends walked up, he was like, hey man, I mean, at least you tried, but everybody was here tonight and saw this. And I was like, God, they were. And I'm still ashamed because of, oh man, they heard me up here rapping about Jesus. But really, he was like, nah, man, they just heard you rap. Oh my God, don't do that anymore. And it was bad. And go
ahead.
Well, I was just saying, so that was another moment of distinction. That led for people to be like, okay, you must really love him because we saw what you did.
Yeah.
Like only people who are that in love with God would do something like that.
Right. It leads me into this next question is how tough was it to break through in Christian rap? Whenever you got started, how tough was it? I mean, obviously you kind of talk about it there, but you could let, what one person says just absolutely say, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. How tough was it for you to stay consistent in doing that? Because I'll be honest with you, I had never heard of you before until I guess it was 2010 or 2011. Mm-hmm. I was in a worship band. We were leading worship for D Now in Brandon, Mississippi. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we just got through the worship service, and the youth pastor gets up. He goes, all right, we're going to bring to the stage, Christian rapper Tedashii. And you get up, and I'm sitting in the back. I have no idea who this guy is, but you freaking threw down. It was awesome. At that point, I was like, I know who this guy is now. But how tough was it to get through those years until I guess 2014, 2015? You hook up with David Crowder and some of these other guys, and you're kind of like, man. You're really getting noticed at this point.
What real quick was that? Was that a First Baptist Church?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I remember that show. I have had both positive and negative experiences in Mississippi.
Yeah.
I won't go controversial,
too,
as
man.
you said.
Sure. Well,
because
I
everyone
can-
has positive and negative experiences in different places.
Yeah, in Alabama,
In Alabama, in North Dakota, in Maine.
That's right. It happens.
In Anchorage, no. Just playing. Anyway, but I will say, when I went to Brandon, it was one of the best experiences I had.
Yeah.
Like, I really enjoyed the show at that church, and I don't remember her name for nothing, but like one of the nicest house hospitality teams. Not because of what they did for me, but like they just seemed genuinely happy.
Yeah.
It was really weird. I was like, y'all are. And it wasn't like a weird fake happiness. It wasn't like a weird Pleasantville happiness. It
Right.
wasn't like a you're high right now type of, like, it wasn't none of that. It was like a genuine God-given joy, and I was like, I will remember this, and I still
Yeah,
do.
that's cool.
Every time I drive home back to Texas from Georgia, we pass through Brandon, and I'm like, I wonder how those people are doing.
Yeah.
He's still looking for them same brownies.
I
Sitting
am.
out there.
Yeah.
I am. I'm looking. I'm like, where are they? Yo, that lady was up there.
What do they sell there?
But that show was probably around the time that I started to turn a corner and everything.
Yeah.
Where I felt like my first album was kind of a get my feet wet. Second album is what gave me a career.
Yeah.
Third album is what kind of solidified for people like, oh, he does this. This is what
Yeah.
he's doing. So around that time was that third album,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I had found my comfort level within what I do, and I think that spoke volumes to people in the Christian industry who were like, oh, this group of artists and these particular artists on the label, or this guy, like those things were being talked about now, and people
Yeah.
were like, oh, they're like this is what they do. This is what's true of them. And we've always said hip hop. Once I got introduced to hip hop wasn't a music like genre. It wasn't just an art form, but it was literally what I was.
Yeah.
I don't know any way to describe it. Like when I played football, it was just what I was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, I'm the guy coach could say do anything, and I'm doing it. 'Cause
Yeah.
not only do I want to start, but I love this game.
Right.
I got a question for you. You mentioned something, and have you been shocked or surprised going in somewhere? Just going into a store or something, and the craziest place you've heard yourself on a speaker, or like you go into a restaurant, or maybe there's somewhere you've been and you're like,
Yes.
That's me.
Is that
like,
me? Is that me?
Or maybe somebody emailed you like, "Hey, you won't believe this, man. This is where I was, and this is what came on." You know,
all those. So for me personally, the two that stand out. One, I was at a Rockets game and I heard my song and I was like, "What in the world?"
That
And
is-
I don't know
hey,
anybody
that's
there.
incredible.
I don't know anybody there, but I heard my
At that
song.
point, you've made it. You know,
Right.
I'm at a Rockets
I'm like,
game and they're
what
playing
is
my music.
happening right now. But then I walked into I forget what city we were in, but I walked into a Starbucks and I got some tea and I sat down and my song came on and I was like,
In Starbucks.
And I walked up to this lady and I was like, "Hey, what radio station is this? I want to text somebody." And she said, "No, this is our playlist. This is what we play." I said, "Oh, so someone here in the store made the playlist?" She was like, "No, Starbucks has a playlist and they give them to us to play." I was like, "Starbucks has my song on their playlist?" Cuz I just started going out a little bit. I was like, "Yo, that's crazy."
That is awesome.
And then after a while, when I looked around and realized no one knew who I was or cared,
Yeah.
I was like, "All right, back to reality.
Whatever.
I'm gonna sip my tea now and chill, calm down."
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about your music too, man, because I know that when I started listening to some of your stuff, of course, I'm like, man, this dude's good. I mean, his lyrics are phenomenal. The music's good, the beat's good, all that kind of stuff. But to me, what spoke out most about your music was just the honest to the core. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just like, look, Christian or not, like I'm rapping and we're talking about God and Jesus, but like I'm just gonna be real with you, and this is my feelings. And one of the albums that just like, man, broke me, and of course was some of the stuff you went through was Below Paradise. I know a lot of people's probably talked to you about it, but like, can you tell, for those that are listening who haven't heard the story, kind of go into a little bit and just talk about what God brought you through? Because the first time I heard that story, man, I was broken. Broken for you and what happened. But listening to that album, just the truth and honesty just comes through.
Man, thank you for saying that, man.
Yeah.
As an artist, and I'm sure other artists can relate, but it's like you want to say something of substance, and at the same time you have to be mindful that you're existing within a marketplace. So it's like, how do you say something of value in both aspects.
Right.
And so for you to say that is awesome, bro. Below Paradise is an album that I did after the worst day of my life happened, where my wife and I we lost our 1-year-old son Chase, and he passed away. He was 1 year and 10 days old, and he was good at one moment and then wasn't the next, better and then worse and then not here. And that for me was, again, the worst day ever. And it Below Paradise is the thing. It was the best description to talk about it, because prior to going through that, I had suffered loss before in my life. My stepmom passed away from breast cancer. One of my little sisters passed away, and you just common perception of life. You assume the older go first.
Yeah.
This is what you assume. So I assume, well, I'll be gone before any of them will, or my stepmom will be here a lot longer than this person or that person, but they both pass away, and that is a heaviness that is out of this world. And then to walk alongside of my dad, who was going through it, and then siblings, it just was a wild moment. And then to go through it myself, I realized in that moment, as much of a believer as I am, as much of a Christian or God honoring lifestyle I've tried to live, or even Christian experiences on the earth, whether through Christian culture or through Bible teaching, or whether through community and fellowship, no matter all of that, this still is not heaven.
Yeah.
There are glimpses of it for sure, but even Paul talks about how we see in a mirror dimly, and we don't even see yet what we will be, but we know we'll be like him.
Yeah.
And so what will be is not yet. And so I got a really, really, really real taste of this not being paradise, although it feels so much like it. Not forget the stage, forget music, just in life, waking up, I got somebody who loves me, my kids who I love and love me back, a fellowship of community in my city that's surrounding me with people that are loving us, praying for us, having fun in life together, like enjoying life, and then to have this come out of the blue.
Yeah.
I mean, it was unbearable, and still is most days. But the reality of being below paradise, and what I try to communicate in the album is, even though we're below paradise, we're not alone. There is this weird truth that I believe exists, that we live in what I think the Bible talks about, the already but not yet. Like, we are already seated in heavenly places, but not yet there. We already have a taste of relationship with our Father, but we are not with him in present.
Yeah.
And so I just felt the angst of longing for what will be while missing what was and enduring what is. And so that was kind of what I wanted the heart of the album to be about. And so for me, the journey began at the point of that album.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this isn't paradise. So I got a lot of unlearning to do. I got a lot of things to undo in my thinking. Because for me, I got saved in college, fought hard as I could by this power of the Spirit, but fought as hard as I could to endure being a Christian in college when everybody else was free and living their best life.
Yeah.
And then I moved forward into like, I'm gonna get discipled. I'm gonna, take seminary classes. I'm gonna do some concepts and learn in that way. I'm gonna sit with this therapist and learn how he does stuff. I'm gonna be trained, discipled, equipped, and prepared for the world ahead. Now I'm gonna do music and full time, everything I do. I'm not even gonna look at trying to do music in a secular format, because I've devoted my life to him. I want my music to be this, and wherever I go on the earth, whatever I say or do, I want it to be as unto him. And so I've been able to do all these different things, Lord, for you. And so unknowingly, subconsciously, I desired a king's ransom. I wanted to be 99.9 years old, on my deathbed, all my children and grandchildren around me, light flickering at the fireplace in the distance, and me thanking them for this life that I've been able to live. And I'm like, that ain't happening now. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I deserve this, and I thought this, and I wish this. And the humility that comes with knowing this isn't paradise, and that paradise is less about you and more about him. The humility of those two things is what drove me to want to surrender more to him. But it was a journey to get there.
I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, it's
So
I have an 8-year-old daughter myself, and I couldn't imagine what I would do emotionally, physically too. I mean, if she were to leave this earth just like that, and what I would go through. But I'll say this, what you've gone through is helping so many other people that are going through the exact same thing.
Yeah. I appreciate, like, I'm sure you guys can relate, like you do student ministry and you have situations and experiences, but because of your role in someone's life of leadership or of some sort of caretaker of any kind, there are people who may just come up who are also adults, not youth, but adults who see you in your leadership role and then either attribute to you or just assume it upon you that you can somehow possess the wisdom to help them along their journey. And now you're called into a different space, even though you're like, I work with kids. I don't know what you want me to do for you. But in that moment, it's like, man, you just need help from someone who's frequented trouble, hardship, in dealing with people who've gone through it. And so I have had people come up to me who, man, my mom is stage 4 cancer. What do I do? Or, hey, man, I lost my dad in the war. Tell me what I should do. Or like one kid, she was a Make-A-Wish Foundation kid, and it was one of my best friend's neighbor. And that kid was getting a Make-A-Wish thing, and all of that was great. And then after it was done, I sat with the parents and we talked, because they were like, man, as much as we love our baby, we don't know what's going to happen. And so I'm like, man, I am in weird but amazing moments that I wouldn't normally ever have assumed I would have been in.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I don't ever want to belittle the life and legacy of my son Chase, who passed, to assume, oh, you were only here to get me to this point so I can now do this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you are going to redeem any aspect of this, God, let it be like this, where I can go sit with, man, I was in line one time signing autographs, and this lady walked up and she was like, I don't have a thing for you to sign. I mean, I wish I could show you a picture. She reminded me of the mom from That 70s Show. Have you seen that show?
Yeah, I have.
Like, she reminded me of that, like same build, same kind of look, blonde hair, bumped and curled at the bottom. And she walks up and she's really sweet and she's like, I don't have anything for you to sign. I hadn't heard of you till today. And I was like, oh, you're so sweet. That's all right. What did you want to do? And she said, well, and then she hugged me, let go, and was drenched in tears and snot. And I didn't even know she had started crying. And she looked at me and she said, where do you put all the pain? And I was like, oh, this just went somewhere else. I didn't know we were going here right now. And I, shared my testimony like here on stage. She was like, where do you put all the pain? And I was like, okay, why do you ask? And she began to tell me what she was going through. And I was like, oh my God, nothing like that has happened to me. What do you want me to do? But what I realized was there's a community of people who are in pain, who are isolated, alone, unable to say it, looking for someone who can relate to it enough to lead and guide them in what to say. And they're hoping for a release in some way. And so in that moment, in 30 seconds, because it was still like 500 people, like 70 people behind her. And I was just like, I mean, here's what I would say. And then she lingered after to pray with one of the pastors. And so I was like, well, have you ever thought about counseling? She was like, no. And I was like, nope, they got 2 here. I will walk with you to. So I walked her to the therapist's office, was like, she needs to sign up. She doesn't go to church here, but you got to meet with her. And the guy was like, hey, great job today. Got you, man. Yeah, we'll do it. And so it was just like, all right, good. But I'm like, okay, is this what I'm about to be doing? all right, I'm with it. Let's go.
Yeah.
So, I've just seen God do interesting but amazing things through this all.
I know you probably don't read comments on like social media or like YouTube. I mean,
stay away from those.
No, you got to. But I was watching there was a YouTube clip last night. I was watching. I think it was David Crowder. What was the song? Home.
Yeah.
So the top comment, of course, I'm going down. Of course, all the comments are good, by the way, in case you want to go and read them.
I appreciate that. All right, good.
The top comment though is a dude.
As soon as I go check today, somebody leave a bad one.
That's right.
I'm like, great.
Yeah, that's my fault. You can blame me for that one. The top one though was a guy that was in rehab for 2 years, drugs, wow. and he said on there, I listen to this song every single day in rehab. Wow. And he said he's been clean for like a year and 7 months and so days. And I'm not sure when that comment was. But I started reading stuff like that, and I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
I mean, and just think about that's, the type of impact that you're having on people, and God's using you in a big way. So just want to tell you to keep it up, man.
Man, thank you, brother, man.
Yeah.
I thank you for sharing that too.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I never know, which is beautiful in my mind. I'm like, Lord, you're going to do things. Me and my friends, a friend of mine years ago put it in a rap song, and we always say it now to be funny, but also to kind of remind ourselves, like, God could use anything from an old Kenny Rogers song to a Gregorian chant to bring someone to himself, if he so desired.
Yeah.
And we just laugh about it, like, man, you could use anything.
Yeah.
There was that random winter break after my second semester of college where I went home and I was struggling really, really a lot. And I stumbled upon this CD from this movie soundtrack, and I put it in, and it was Whitney Houston singing on the Preacher's Wife soundtrack, that movie.
It's a fantastic
and
soundtrack.
I had no clue. I didn't even know what it was, but I put it in, and she started singing Glory to the King or something. But I just remember thinking, like, who would have thought Whitney Houston would be the person keeping my heart focused on the Lord right now? I was like, but it's happening, because I'm about to go read this verse that she's singing about, and instead of going out here with my cousins and doing God knows what. So
Lauryn Hill too on Sisters Act, Act 2, when she's sitting at the piano with I don't know what the actress's name is, but they sing or his eyes are on the sparrow, and she's going through that song. I'm like, holy cow, man! I mean, she's incredible too, by the way. But let's talk a little bit. We're gonna wrap this up here in a second, but let's talk a little bit about. Is there an album coming out anytime soon? I mean, I know 2020 you're probably working on some stuff, right?
Yeah.
I was mentioning this to somebody the other day. It's like, we should the world period, but like there should be some of the best albums come out in 2021, 2022. There should be the best like software applications, all this kind of stuff, because people are spending so much time at home and books, all those sorts of things. So tell us about some, hopefully an upcoming album you got coming out.
So there's a lot of stuff being worked on.
Yeah.
There is new music.
That's what I'm talking about.
I was playing some in the car for them on the way up, but there's new music. It's according to the label's desire of how it will be released.
Sure.
But I would say right now I probably have.
You got to test it somewhere, baby.
Yeah, you can test it tonight. You can test it tonight.
That is true. I mean, but I probably have a good 10 done. Another 15 that are like 80% of the way, and then probably, like, no exaggeration, like 30 other ideas that are just waiting to be touched.
Just a creative machine.
Yeah,
I was just popping them out.
Fun. It was just fun to create. Whenever I could escape or get away, I wanted to go write, or whenever it was a moment to feel inspired from life around us, like I wanted to go write. Or whenever I saw somebody else do something creative, I wanted to go write. Like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
When Justin performed with the guy from Memphis. They're both from Memphis, and I forget his name, the black dude he sang with, but it was
Bruno.
No, it wasn't Bruno Mars.
It was another dude. He's a new singer too.
He is. My wife said his name. I thought it was Lenny Kravitz at first, but it wasn't.
No.
He looked just like Lenny Kravitz to me. I was like, I watched half of him. Like, that's not Lenny Kravitz.
Prince was showing up. They did a little.
No. I mean this year.
This year.
It was this year. Yeah, it was this year. I can't think of the guy's name.
Yeah,
my wife knows him.
And I honestly thought it was Justin's song, but it was really this guy's song.
Yeah.
And Justin was just featured on it. But they did a song together, and it ended with a gospel choiring. Really, it was like a gospel song by the end of it, where it was like worshipful, and it was like it was very edifying and encouraging.
Yeah.
And so watching that, I was inspired because one of the things that one of my prayers for the body as a whole, not just America, not just a certain group of Christians, but like the body as a whole, one of my prayers in this season has been that there would be way more encouragement and less critique, and way more justice and less judgment. I feel like it's easy to correct somebody on what they did wrong, but it's very I feel like there's a little bit of a lack in how well we step up to encourage and just say to like, what's my man right here? What's your name? Clayton. Like when it's done, just to be like, Clayton, way to go, bro. And he's like, oh, I didn't push a button. I don't care. Like,
he's a stud too.
He's a stud, yeah. But like to hear it, to say it, it's awkward. To be scolded, reprimanded, or corrected, it's so common that you know the posture to take when it happens. Solemn, quiet, downward. To be praised, edified, encouraged, we don't know what to do. We turn red, we goofy smile. I don't know how to take this. Okay, thanks, I guess, whatever. We just don't do it enough for it to be so common that it's like I'll stand in this and receive it as it is given, because this is biblical too. And so I've just been praying for more of that, because I have seen firsthand the number of people around me in Atlanta who are dealing with depression, isolated and alone, feeling like there are fewer answers than there are questions, less solutions than there are problems, and they are in need of not just correction and direction, but the edification to know, no, the Spirit of the Lord is with you.
Yeah.
No, you are strong in the Lord and the power of His might. There is a truth that exists for the body, for the children of God. Even Psalm 37, fret not what evildoers do, and like stay faithful to Him. Yeah. So I think. For me, that has been a huge prayer. So my music has really been leaning toward that. Yeah. And so I have a lot of new songs in that regard. I'm working on a podcast right now that hopefully will come out soon. My son Chase, you mentioned him. Yeah. But my wife and I are working on starting to launch a foundation in his name called the Chase Foundation. And the idea of the Chase Foundation is to educate, equip, enlighten, and empower. Yeah. And the idea of all of those come from my own life, of just knowing what my life was prior to those things showing up, right? And then after the fact, when I was enlightened or empowered or enriched into a different way of life, or edified and empowered to go do it, educated to see life from a different vantage point, things changed. And so I want to see that being the case. The heart of it really is, if Chase were here, what would I be doing for him now that I now can do for somebody else in his honor? That's good. And then the other thing that I'm doing, I started this thing called Chase Wellness. And so right now we're doing mostly social media stuff. But Chase Wellness is basically, when you speak of health, especially in the West, in America, you think physical. Man, let me drop pounds, or let me get slimmer, or let me get my biceps bigger, or get a little more muscle tone, or whatever the case may be. But health goes way bigger than just physical appearance or physical fitness. Yeah. And so once I honestly never thought about that until after losing my son. And I was like, wait, I have to care about my mental health, emotional health, relational health, financial health, environmental health, even my mental health. Okay. All right. There's a lot more to think about than just, can I push 350 at this age? Like, what else can I do now? And so I've been doing therapy for the last 2 years. Yeah. I've been helping my therapist, the network she's a part of, to do therapy and outreach in certain parts of the city in Atlanta.
Which is okay, but I just want to mention this too. It's okay to do therapy. Yeah. Like I think there's a bad perception
good point.
in society where it's like, oh, well, that person has to go see a counselor. Like, it doesn't mean there's something wrong. I mean, just like we need therapy. Like, all of us do. Yeah. Every single one of us do.
No, that's a good point. I said it with a comfortability as if it was commonplace. Yeah. That's my bad. Because
you're good.
It's not.
You're good.
I forget a lot of times that there's a stigma around it, because I've become so comfortable with knowing this is a necessary thing in my life.
It is, yeah.
But beyond that, pursuing things that help mental health. So, for instance, I used to try to work out for a certain look, and now working out is to release endorphins to help my mental health, because now that endorphins are released, there's a sense of peace and calm that comes to my mind. Stress is less, so now there's no stress on my heart.
Yeah.
My mind is in a different state, and now when I engage my family, I'm better. So I'm not working out anymore to be like, okay, how much can I bench, or how strong can I get on my squat, or man, can I look a certain way? But it really is like, how can I get better here? Because I know it'll help me be better in these other areas. And I think the word wellness encompasses all of that more than just saying health. And so Chase Wellness is what it's called in the heart of my son Chase, but also because it is a pursuit till we die.
Yeah.
We don't arrive. That football taught me that we were going to arrive. Once we got the championship, you get the chip, like you good, bro. You arrived, and it's like, no, I will never arrive until I leave from here. I will till I have a glorified body.
That's right.
I look like my big brother, The Rock. I haven't arrived, bro. I haven't arrived, so I'm waiting.
If there's, we like to end the show with a challenge. If you got, try to
like a push-up challenge or something.
No, well, I mean, we can
It's actually a 40-yard dash.
I'm probably going to lose, but if there's some sort of challenge for the people that are listening, say, hey, I challenge you guys to this, whatever it is. What's on your heart?
Push-up. No, just playing. You at home right now? No. Two things come to mind when I think of the idea of challenge.
You've said a lot of things, by the way, on this podcast is challenging us. But
I'm sorry about that. Was
no,
that
no, you're
I
good.
thought that was like, all right, you've already said enough.
No.
Quiet.
You get a half a thing.
You get a half. Okay, we're done.
Two things come to mind when I think of challenging people watching. The first one is, I really do. It is a prayer of mine, man. If there are people in your life that it would bless them to hear an encouraging word, call them and encourage them and just tell them, I'm thankful for you today that you're alive and well, or man, thank you for doing what you did, or hey, when you did this thing, you did it so well and here's why, or whatever the case may be. But finding ways of being encouraging toward people in that regard, I think will go a long way. And the second thing is, I would encourage people to take the time to pray and journal.
Yeah.
I am not a journaler, so I'm not one to advocate for it as much as others, because I would be a hypocrite in that regard. Mm-hmm. But what I've learned is when I go to God now and pray in this COVID world that we live in, having the downtime at home to go to God and pray, what I've learned is once I pray and write it down, more starts to come to my mind that I could be praying for. And I realize it's increased my prayer life. Not that journaling only, but just the heart of wanting to pray. And then journaling after, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that because they were here when this, let me write that down. And then I'm going to pray for them later. And then it's going to grow in my thinking overall. And I'm a firm believer in God would love to do things for us.
That's good.
I don't say that like he's my servant.
Yeah.
I know that comes out weird for some people's ears, but I say it because I do believe that our Father loves us and he's willing to give good gifts to his children.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, he wants to gift us with stuff, but I don't think we ask. And I don't think even the verse that comes to mind is it John, where he says, some of you are, oh Lord, what verse is that? You ask, but you do it. You do it with the wrong motive, so you don't receive. When Jesus was talking to the disciples, talking to the Pharisees, and so I'm like, yes, that is. Some of us ask and we don't receive because we don't ask. Some of us don't ask and we don't receive because we don't ask, and some of us ask but we do it with the wrong motive and we don't receive. But I'm like, man, the sincere heart of the prayer of the people who follow the Lord to pray, write it down and expect it and watch it happen, and then go back and look. Like 6 months ago, I was praying for this and God did it.
That's good.
He did it his way, but he did it. So pray and encourage other people, man. That would be the main thing.
Last thing we got. This is the fun part. Okay,
y'all are gonna rap and I get to listen to it.
No, that's terrible. You don't want me to rap.
No, you just said you grew up listening to Tupac.
I did. I can do California Love probably.
Yeah,
if you want me to do that.
That's it.
Men do what they want, boys do what they can.
That's right. This is the fast. This is that's so good.
Apologize.
That's so good. It's all good.
So good.
Hey, guess what? We don't have a boss, or I don't have a boss for this podcast, so you can say whatever you want to say.
So good.
All right. This is what I call the Fast Five, right?
All right, cool. I'm with it.
Favorite movie?
Remember the Titans.
That's a good one. Favorite fast food restaurant?
Whataburger.
That's so good. You're from Texas.
I am
So,
from Texas.
yeah. Favorite musical artist?
Right now, the Tedashii brothers out of Australia.
I'll have to look them up. Never
Yes,
heard of
you
them.
do.
Favorite sports team?
Houston Texans.
Okay.
Now the JJ one.
I'm okay with that. I kind of hate that JJ he's left,
I'm
right?
he's a Cardinal now.
I mean,
So sad about
he
that.
did a lot for Houston.
He did, man.
He's a good dude. All right, and this is my last question that I have to ask everybody that comes on this show: Jordan or LeBron?
Jordan.
Thank you. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's it. Jordan.
I mean, honestly, I feel like it's Jordan, Kobe, then LeBron.
I mean, I'd take either of them on my team, but
I would too.
Right.
But that's really where I'm at. I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, I think it's Jordan, Kobe. Then I think LeBron's great, but he flops too much.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and say.
Did you hear about what happened at Nike recently?
No, I did not.
The vice president, she has a son who's in his 20s, and over so many years, I forget, he's had a online store and I think a wholesale store where he lived,
Yeah.
where he was basically secretly using her business card, buying up all the Jordans and all that stuff that came out before everyone knew, and then selling it resale and making money off.
Holy cow! Smart.
Smart.
Yeah,
Very smart.
Yeah, she lost her job because of this.
Oh, yeah, I'm
because
sure.
of this smart kid.
Yeah, that's right.
So when you talk about Jordan or LeBron,
That's
like,
what you think of,
I'm
yeah.
like, nobody is robbing their mother to buy LeBron.
he started doing that at
They're doing that
11.
with Jordan.
That's
11 years old, he
that's
started
a very
doing it at 11 years
that's a
old.
valid point.
But I'm saying nobody is
That's a valid point.
robbing their mom's credit card
Thank you.
to pay for LeBron's to sell them.
Travis Key,
He
I hope
did it
you're
with
listening.
Jordans.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. So, Caleb, you got anything else you
No,
want
man,
to
it's
say?
been great.
Tadashi, yeah, thank you, buddy. We really appreciate you
No
joining
doubt.
us. And
Thank y'all for having me.
Good luck tonight, man. It's been a year.
Oh yeah, it's been a year. So
Don't get out of breath after 5 minutes, man.
I know. I'm just hoping that there's grace in the house.
There is.
Good Lord.
You're good. It's going to be good, buddy. Thank you for joining us, man.
All right, bro.